What's up, everybody? We're back here in my garage. This weekend we're not drifting, we're not prepping my E36, we're not taking the Golf R on Tail Dragon or anything like that. This week we are actually back in my garage. I have some downtime to actually get some major work done on the E92. You guys have probably been thinking, you know, I've been out drifting, I've been doing all this other stuff on my channel, and my E92 has been neglected the whole time, but that is not the case at all. I've gotten a ton of work done on the E92. We have like the last 10% to do before the chassis can actually be painted. So I'll go over, you know, what's been done to the E92 in the past week or so, and also what needs to be done today to get this back on the rotisserie and ready to be painted. All right, guys, I'm kind of fighting the light in here, but you can see there's a lot missing in the back half here. So I've cut the whole quarter panel off, most of everything out back here off, and that's because, come out into the light here, I've got 2F Performance rear quarter panels. So 2F Performance was nice enough to help me out with these. They sit right on there like that. I mean, well, not really like that. You know, kind of more like that. So they sit on there right like that. They're the whole quarter, so it fills everything in. I think these are on Blake Olson's cars. These are on Farouk's car. I'm pretty stoked to be able to get my hands on a pair of these. And obviously I was able to cut away most of the car to do that. Now if we look at the way I've cut this apart, obviously I've cut about as much as I could out of here. So when you do that, you're left with like a big hole here. And there's like a piece of plastic here, stock. So I ripped that out and I filled the hole in with a piece of metal, and I filled this whole side in with a piece of metal. And it's just spot welded, so I'm gonna seam seal all that up. This is specifically so I can scoop tire debris out of here. Otherwise, all the tire debris would come out of the wheel well and go straight into what is essentially a big catch tank for tire debris. So all the tire debris will sit on top, and I'll just reach my hand in here and wipe it off. I had to leave the rear frame rails for now. That's just because of how my rotisserie hooks up. I didn't want to redo this whole portion of the rotisserie so I could do the tube rear. The tube rear, I'm going to cut the frame rails off like right here and make a whole new rear section. But to get it on the rotisserie, I had to leave the frame rails on to be able to bolt it there. If we move along to the inside of the car, now you guys saw me making that trans tunnel, but you guys didn't see me making basically the oil accumulator or dry sump setup block off area. So made this whole section. It's just held in there with those little Zeus fasteners, so quarter turn fasteners. This plate comes off and the whole oiling system will be behind there. I was also able to get the seat rails made. So the seat rails are kind of bolted in. I cut some plates, welded some nuts to the back, and welded them to the car, and then made these seat rails for the seat to sit on. These are almost in the exact same place as a Eurofighter. We have the pedal box bracket up there. I'll get into that a little later. Obviously, same on the passenger side. We come around to the front. I made some major progress in the engine bay. So I filled in all of the holes in the engine bay, mostly just for aesthetics, but it might offer some structural rigidity as well. And of course I've added this bar right here to support the strut towers, and this bar will be used to support the headlights, the intercooler maybe, and some other things. If you have a very keen eye, you can see I have my BC Racing custom coilovers on there and my Wisefab on the front. I had to mock these up to make sure that when I turn this all the way this way, the tire didn't hit this new bar here. And I had to cut the strut tower to have some adjustment. So a lot of people cut this ring out too. I decided not to cut the ring out, just to hold it for structural rigidity. My friend John told me to actually keep that there, so I am. Actually, John was able to cut this really nice hole to have a little adjustment in there. I had to turn the top nuts down on the BC Racing coilovers to be able to fit the adjuster through the Wisefab top hat. So if you do BCs with Wisefab, just know the adjuster won't fit anymore, but you can turn down the little shoulder nut and thread it on there. I got all of the fender rails stitch welded, primed up. Still got some holes to fill, kind of in here and kind of down here, but that'll be done in the rotisserie. Oh, you guys haven't seen this. I made a little like quick latch system for the dashboard. So you just push these latches on either side and the dashboard pops off. So what am I gonna do today? There's like, you know, I'd say probably like 90% of the chassis work is done. But that last 10% is what's basically the hardest stuff. So it's not really hard. but it's hard to get motivated to do it because it's just brackets and bracing and kind of boring stuff. So today I want to make the bracket to hold the brake fluid reservoirs. I got the Tilton 3-chamber brake fluid reservoir, and I'm going to put that right in the center of the dash basically. I also have to mock up a seat and figure out where the pedal bracket's going to be welded to the car. I have to weld in plates and nuts for the harnesses. So you know, I don't have any factory seatbelt holes or threaded holes anymore, so I need to make new ones to bolt my harness down. And then we can actually put it on the rotisserie, flip it upside down again, weld the remaining holes up on the bottom, and actually get this ready to be painted. For the paint, I'm actually going to be using Steel It Coating Steel It. So I got gray Steel It from MA Motorsports. It went on sale, and I went and got it. And I'm super excited to use that paint on my frame because unlike powder coat, I can add stuff to it later. So there are things that I'm missing in this frame that should be there, but it's okay to, actually you can weld through it, but grind it off and, you know, weld a new bracket in, then re-steel it, make it look nice. So now that you guys have had a 1,000-foot view of what's going on and what's been done, it's time to get to work. And if you want to see more of this build, more of my E36 drift car, more of our Golf R outing adventures in the mountains, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment and tell me what you want to see if you don't want to see any of that. Alright, I got my nuts welded onto my plate here. I'm going to weld these into the car to hold the harness down. Alright guys, you can see it's pretty hot out today, so I might not be looking my best. But I wanted to show you guys how I'm going to set my pedal box up. So I've made this. This is kind of, you know, a pedal box mount, but it's adjustable. You can see there's lots of different threaded holes. I used what are called weld nuts, and actually James over at Night Owl tigged them on for me because I don't have a TIG welder. And I kind of made this like nice flat piece for the pedal box to mount on. So this is specifically for a Willwood pedal box, and I made it from the dimensions that they have posted on their website. So I really hope it fits. It is really exact. I used a caliper to make all the measurements and a scribe. So this should fit. Action Spence was nice enough to let me borrow his beautiful Bridgemoto seat. I'm going to sit in the seat and I'm going to put this on the floor where I think the pedals should be. And, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a guessing game because the pedals don't exactly sit on these holes. They sit a little further forward and a little further out. But, you know, I'll be able to get it pretty close just by sitting in the seat and putting this, and then it's adjustable. So I'll try to set it in the middle somewhere and I'll move it back and forth if I have to. Alright, so I'm sitting in the seat. And you can see where I kind of guessed the pedals were going to be down there. I kind of want like a slight bend in my knee, and this is pretty much where my seat's going to be. So the pedals should kind of be like this. Whip, 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 something like that. This is pretty comfortable. I can get a little closer to the center console with the seat, so I might put them a little bit further up actually, a little bit more to the right. The clutch kind of hangs off like right where these bolts are. So the clutch kind of sits right in front of the bolts, and the gas pedal hangs off way to the right. So my feet would kind of be like this compared to that pedal box I made there. So that means this thing's got to go a little bit to the left. That means the gas pedal be like right there, off to the right of the bolt holes, and the clutch pedal would be right here, and just enough room for a dead pedal. So it's going to be actually pretty much right there. The pedals come about 3 inches forward of the furthest hole, so actually they'll be like here, so it's got to go back a little bit. If I had it adjusted all the way out, the pedals would sit about here. So I think I'm going to push it back a little bit and have the, I'd like to use this second hole here and then have one hole this way and a couple holes that way just to kind of dial it in later. So we're gonna go for it. All right, so I got it pretty well lined up here. So the gas pedal sits a little bit to the right of these bolt holes, so I have plenty of room for my really big feet to fit in here. The pedals themselves sit about 3 inches forward of the closest bolt hole. So if you look at where the bottom of my foot is, it's kind of lined up with the bottommost bolt hole. That means that the third one up is where I'm trying to get the pedal set to sit, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of reason to move it further back, but a lot more reason to move it forward. So I'm trying to align it with the furthest back position of the pedal. So this should be pretty good. It gives me about 3 inches to play with as well. So I think this is where basically it's going to go. The pedal should be right around here. Clutch pedal should be right here. And it should be far enough forward to, you know, for me to use. So I can always adjust the seat forward or back to compensate. But one of the reasons we're doing it this way is because I want the seat as far back as possible always. All right, guys. So you can see I marked it off and I ground down the metal below it. And then I cut a slot underneath this one so that it would sink down to the same level as these and it wouldn't be kind of crooked or moved or anything. I used a square and lined it up to this body line right here. It looks pretty straight, looks like it's going to be exactly where I need it. I'm just going to throw a couple tacks on it, throw the seat back in, check to make sure my feet are in the right places where I expect them to be, and then we'll weld it in. I think we are good to go. Pro tip, if you want to look like an 8th grader about to go to a Korn concert, buy Dickies loose fit jeans, because just like when you were in 5th grade, they look like you're wearing Jenkos. If you wear a black shirt on top, you're ready for the Korn concert. Alright guys, I got the seatbelt mounts welded up, there, and for the submarine belt there. And now I'm gonna weld that little bracket up that I put up there for the brake reservoirs. And then we can move on to the passenger side actually. We got her back on the rotisserie. If you remember, like the first episodes of my YouTube channel, we built a homemade rotisserie for this car. And the car is back on the rotisserie. We're gonna go ahead and fill some holes, and then she'll be ready to paint. So the goal is for it to be ready to paint the cabin area, so the inside, and the floor of the car by the end of this weekend. And we are really close. We just gotta fill the rest of these holes and seam seal some things. And then I think we're really good to paint. I mean, we're not painting the engine bay or behind the rear firewall yet, but I think the inside will be good to paint then. So let's see how we can do it. And for all you who's wondering what it looks like on the rotisserie, looks like this. High up in the air, rotates around. Looks a lot different this time than the last time it was on the rotisserie. It was basically a full car last time. But now there's really nothing attached to it. And I'm gonna come out of the sun here. But yeah, she's up there, and I'm going to start by filling these holes in the lower sill right here, and probably filling these holes in the upper sill too. Alright guys, I got all those holes in the kind of door sill area all welded up. This is what they look like, all welded up. I mean, every single one of them. Those ones I'm pretty sure hold the side skirt on, so I'm not messing with those. But I got them all the way down, and I got those ones on top too. These all grind down with a flap disc, so they won't be so noticeable. These all get covered, so I'm not going to bother. I just got to put a plate over the hole for the door electronics, because obviously I won't have any. And then I'm done with this side, and I got to go on to the other side. I finished up almost everything I wanted to do today, But it was so hot in the garage. I had to change my shirt like 4 or 5 times. The car's back on the rotisserie. Obviously, it's up sideways. And I have to clean up all these black marks. This is from welding on the other side. So clean all this up with the angle grinder and the wire brush. Get all those cleaned up. I got to weld the transmission tunnel from the other side here. So I got to finish welding this. Got to fill in this gap here for the pedal box. And if we come over here on my super messy bench, this is the water pump. Water pump is going to be mounted like here-ish, somewhere around here. So I'm going to make a bracket for that. And then I'm really excited about this. This is the power steering pump. It's from a Mini Cooper, and it's a full pump. I had this fitting here made especially for it to convert it to -6. But this I'm going to mount, you know, wherever I don't mount the water pump. So somewhere around here. Both of these pumps are really heavy. In fact, this one's probably twice the weight of the water pump. But I'm going to kind of make it sit in there like that. And all that weight will be on the passenger side in front of the axle, so it should be a good spot. A lot of pros are putting their water pumps here, and you know, I get a lot of ideas from pros and other YouTubers, and you know, anybody I think that has a good idea, I will use it. So I might fill these in. They have caps like stock, but I don't need to use this to access anything, so I might actually just weld a big piece of metal in here too. Yeah, basically all the holes are filled. The chassis is stitch welded. The roll cage is done. All the engine bay is done. The transmission tunnel is basically done. I mean, the chassis is really close. And once all this is painted, I can take it off the rotisserie. This is its last time on the rotisserie. So once it's painted, we'll mount the wise fabs up. You might have seen the wise fab on the floor there. But I've got the rear wise fab kit too, and all the coilovers and everything. So actually I've got almost all the parts to make this a roller. Then we can focus on the exterior. I've got the body kit is actually being made now, so I'm very, very excited. You guys are going to really like the body kit. I just need to get fenders and bumpers and headlights, and the body kit will be coming. Actually, that's already paid for and everything, so I'm really excited. This thing's going to be a roller that just needs a drivetrain really, really soon. So it needs wiring and some other stuff, but we'll figure that out as it goes. Anyway, if you like this type of content, or any of my drifting content, or any of my Tail of the Dragon content, or Golf R content, I should say, please give this video a like, comment, and tell me what you want to see if you don't like any of this stuff. And subscribe to my channel, please. I'll see you next week.